will be taking part in next year. So I'm just going to say a little bit about the legwork that has gone into where we are now. Before I get started, I just wanted to thank Dr. Stanley. She's going to, for the most part, run the show this evening, and she's put all this information together, and she's done a tremendous job transitioning us to this pathways model here at Oak Park High School. So just a couple of housekeeping items before we get rolling. If you would, go ahead and turn off your video and mute yourself at this time, just that way you don't take over the screen. And because Dr. Stanley, she's going to share her presentation with us, and I will be monitoring the chat, and I will answer questions as they come up. And when Dr. Stanley is done with her brief presentation, we'll be able to answer some questions live as well. And if anyone is having trouble with the chat or anything like that, we can have you unmute at that time and ask your questions through the audio. So if you saw in the chat, I did send a link to some frequently asked questions. I'm going to put that in there again, just so you have it in case you were late to the meeting, which is totally fine. And I'll probably put it again toward the end of the meeting to make sure you have that. So that may answer some of your most basic questions, but you'll certainly have some more questions. We did Monday, and they were wonderful questions that really led to some good conversations. So we'll go ahead and kick it off. So I'm just going to share a little bit about how we got to this point with Pathways. So for as long as I've been at Oak Park High School, it's my 8th year here at Oak Park High School, my 5th year as principal. We've always talked about how can we get students more connected to what they want to do after they leave Oak Park High School, because it's not just about getting them across the stage. Our mission at Oak Park High School is to prepare students to be responsible citizens in our community that are contributing on a daily basis. So when we really thought about how we would do that, we started having the conversation around integrating life after high school into the high school experience. We ran into a few roadblocks, but luckily for us, the district took on a big chunk of that work. And now all 4 high schools are engaged in this work together. So what I'm going to share briefly is just about our portrait of our graduates. So, approximately a year and a half ago, before we were all wearing masks and it was still okay for us to sit in the same room, a huge group of community members, educators, parents and families, students, I mean, just people from all around our community got together and talked about what are some of the most basic skills that students need to be successful in the 21st century. And if this pandemic has taught us anything, it's that that skill base is really going to be important in what we can do and what limits we may have. So if you look on the screen, you can see the 7 most basic skills, and I won't take the time to read through all of them, but as you briefly list them and look at them: integrity, learner's mindset, problem solving, adaptability, communication, collaboration, and empathy. All of the work that we are going to try to engage your students in moving forward will be connected to these skills within a portrait of a graduate. And before I turn over to Dr. Stanley, I think a huge chunk of this too is not only in our district, but throughout society and throughout our nation. You see that students, as they progress through their K through 12 learning experience, their level of engagement, their level of interest tends to decrease. So our goal at Oak Park High School and throughout the district, through the portrait of a graduate and through what Dr. Stanley is getting ready to talk about, is really focused on making sure your students have an engaging, worthwhile experience that is going to make them excited to come to school, that is going to help them see what their future may look like, and really just give them the experiences they need to be successful when they leave Oak Park. So without further ado, I'll turn it over to Dr. Stanley, and I will start moderating the chat and any questions that may come up. So feel free to go ahead and type in any questions as we're going through the presentation.
Thank you, Dr. Sarton. Okay, to start off with, we want to talk about why pathways. Why do our students need anything? We are looking at engagement and really engaging students in their day-to-day school activities, in their classes, and Pathways connects academics to the real-world experience. So we want to make sure that every student is prepared for post-secondary education and employment opportunities. So we're focusing on both. And as we talk through Pathways, you'll see how by your student choosing a pathway, they will start to really develop and really learn where their passions are and what it is they want to do post-secondary. So here are the different schools that will be offered here at Oak Park. So we have the School of Business, Leadership, and Entrepreneurship, the School of Design, Innovation, and Technology, the School of Health and Wellness, and the School of Public and Commercial Service. So while these are great and you can see the strands underneath, if you're interested in entrepreneurship, you would go into school of business or creative design. But a lot of times students, especially in 8th grade, have a hard time wrapping their mind around what is creative design, what is entrepreneurship. So we've done a lot of different processes with the 8th graders already, and we will continue those come the first of the year. And we've gone in and I've actually talked to the in-person and sent a video home to the virtual students about what does that look like for you? And here's some possible careers. So as I was talking to your students, where are your interests? And if you're interested in interior design, if you're interested, you want to be an engineer, if you want to be a photographer. So we've looked at a lot of different careers and we've grouped them into the schools that they correspond to. So I'll give you a second to kind of look over that slide. And we've really tried to encompass every possible career that students are thinking of, to make sure that there's, a home for everybody. And your students took a test called the Missouri Connections, which is more of an interest survey, not really a test. And when they finished that interest inventory, they were put into a career cluster. Those career clusters directly align with each of these schools of. So if your student is looking and saying, I don't know what I want to do, and they can't, none of these different careers are really what they're looking for, have them go back and visit with them about Missouri Connections. What career cluster did you go into? Now we have some students who are absolutely positive, I want to become a doctor. And that's wonderful. Maybe they took Missouri Connections and it said, you'd be really good in, I don't know, technology. Go where their passion is. This is just a different lens for them to be engaged in when they're going through school. And through high school, they're going to, as they're going through ELA, as they're going through math, as they're going through all of their courses, there's going to be a lens put on it, and that lens is through these 4 schools. So students will be able to engage in guest speakers, job shadows, client-based projects, internships, career fairs, mock interviews, and our goal is for every student to have a capstone project at the end of that 4 years. Maybe that's an internship, maybe they're a graphic designer and they want to create their portfolio and move into the workforce after high school. That would be an example of a capstone project. And as these students are starting to choose maybe where their interests are, maybe something still hasn't really hit their fancy just yet, we will be having guest speakers coming in that will talk about different careers and talk about maybe there's things they haven't even heard of or thought of yet. And hopefully through guest speakers, if they find something that maybe they're interested in, they think, yeah, I think this is where I want to go, we will give them the opportunity to do a job shadow so that maybe they can go and say, yep, this is it, or come back and say, nope, that wasn't it. That's not what I thought that type of job did. We also will make those connections with client-based projects between students and industry. So wherever their interests lie, we will be working with businesses in the local area, in the metro, and work through projects with them to give them more exposure to that area of interest and give them the ability to connect with people who are actually doing the job that potentially they may want to do. So what will students experience? Again, I just spoke about them working with industry partners. This is a great experience for them to maybe go into an internship, or maybe if they are graduating, wanted to go into skilled trades, this is a really good opportunity for them to make that connection and potentially get a job. Engaging in authentic projects, we talked about that. But the real skill here is critical thinking. So many times students are going to class and they're just going through the motions. I'm learning this math because you told me I had to learn this math. When am I ever going to use it? We really want to start connecting it for them so they understand you're learning angles and you're going to become an architect. These are really important. Or maybe you're learning fractions and you want to become a doctor and you have to administer medicine. So really it's taking what they're learning, putting it through a lens and saying, this is when you're going to use this in the real world, or when you graduate, or when you grow up, or however that phrasing works. So we've had a lot of questions. What does my freshman schedule look like? So they will be signed up for their 4 core classes. That's nothing different. So their English, their math, their social studies, their science. They will have a tech core class, and that is determined by the school they go into. So let's say they want to go into the design strand of design, innovation, technology. And then it would be creative design 1. For business, if that was where their interest is, it would be foundations of business, which would be a class that would kind of go through all the different aspects of business, from marketing to entrepreneurship to finance to accounting, to kind of expose them to everything. So then hopefully sophomore year, they can move on and really start to find where their area of interest is. They will still be allowed to do 3 elective courses. All of the electives that were available before are still going to be available. So if they're into choir or band or, whatever courses it is that they want to take, they will be taking, or they can sign up for up to 3 elective courses. So that is your typical schedule. The next slide, I'm going to go back real quick to talk about this schedule. I can leave it on this slide. As your student progresses and they become a junior and a senior, they do still have the opportunity to do all of the off-campus programs that are still available now. So we have Northland CAPS, we have NCC, we have Early College Academy. All of those options will still be available as your student moves to their junior and senior year. So that concludes the formal presentation. Hopefully you have lots of questions in the chat here, and Dr. Sarton and I will go through and answer those for you.
We have only had one so far, which means you did an excellent job, Dr. Stanley. Nice work.
Yeah.
But the one question we had was, it's a really common question, was about students having the ability to change. Yes, they do. We're really going to ask students after a year how their experience was, and if they feel that they might be better suited or they changed their career path. I know I wanted to be about 10 different things over the course of my 4 years in high school, so we can certainly do that. What schools that have done this have found is it's pretty rare for a student to change their school or their pathway within a school. And I'll tell you why. A big part of why we were doing this is, one, of course, to make sure that students are taking courses that are of interest to them, but we also want to create a smaller learning community. With next year, we'll have over 1,700 students at Oak Park. That's a pretty big school. But within a pathway, our freshman class of 450 students will be split into 4 different schools. So only about 125 will fit within each school. So that will be a great opportunity for them to create those relationships within those smaller schools. They'll have their own counselor. They'll have their own assistant principal or principal if they're in the school that I oversee. So it's really going to be a great opportunity to be a part of that community, which is why a lot of students don't switch. We have a couple other questions, Dr. Stanley. Someone said, I'm not sure my student knows what their career cluster was for Missouri Connections. Is there a way for her to find out or retake this?
Yep, and you can talk to your counselor through Antioch. They can walk you through that process. They took it during their MTSS time, so their time where they're with teachers, and everybody can give them the link again, or we can bring up, if they want to contact me, my email is up here on the screen. I can pull that as well and let them, and kind of walk through it with them too if they have questions.
Another question, I think I can answer this. We have a couple more on the chat right now, but one person said, when do these real world learning experiences start freshman year? The answer is yes. Now, as they progress, and feel free to hop in, Dr. Stanley, as they progress and they get further in the high school career, it will become more and more a part of what they're doing. That freshman year is going to be a lot of exploratory. They may not, like, let's say they want to be a pilot, just something off the top of my head. They may not be connected to somebody in that career field that's mentoring them specifically, but they would start to read about what their job entails, and what does their schedule look like, and what are salary options, and what does that look like? What does schooling look like after high school? So yes, the real world experiences start freshman year from more of an exploratory level. And then as they get into their junior and senior year, they're starting to get involved in internships or client-based projects where they're working more specifically with that career field and those professionals. Would you agree, Dr. Stanley?
Yep, well said.
Okay, next question. Again, I think I can answer. This is only for someone asked, what about our students that are sophomores, juniors, or seniors, students already at Oak Park? This is starting with the class of 2025. So while sophomores, juniors, and seniors wouldn't go to a school next year or a pathway, we are very focused on making sure all of our students, one, have a post-secondary goal, and two, they're working toward that post-secondary goal. So Something, I can't remember if Dr. Stanley mentioned it specifically, but something we'll be talking about are market value assets. So our current senior class, I think over 50% of them, Dr. Stanley, already have a market value asset, which means they have 12 hours of dual credit, they're part of an internship, they've done a client-based project, or they're working towards some type of post-secondary certificate. So that's a goal for all of our students. While it won't be as embedded in the curriculum for older students as it is for incoming freshmen, it is something that we do school-wide, and it is definitely a part of our mission.
Yep.
So the next question, where do students apply for this? Dr. Scanley, do you just want to talk a little bit about how it looks with the enrollment process?
Absolutely. So your student, I've been in there talking to them. They've taken Missouri Connections. Hopefully they're starting to narrow it down. Mrs. Smith and I will be in there at the end of January to kind of talk through again, hey, let's make sure we're lined up. You know what pathway, you know where you're going to fit. And then we will start enrollment the end of February, first part of March. And that's how they will enroll. And it will be a selection process. They will rank and they will talk about, you know, what pathway they want and why, and are we sure this is a fit? So they each will be walk through the process, so you don't have to worry about them missing enrollment or missing application. That process will be managed by us and the counselors here when we go over to Antioch towards the end of March or beginning of March.
Awesome. Okay, next question. Again, great questions. Thank you. Keep them coming. I'll try to make sure I don't miss any. So moving right down the line, limited number of kids allowed in each school. We do need to try to balance our schools to the best of our ability. And we really want our 4 schools to mirror our school-wide demographic. So we want each of them to have a representation that would be similar to our school-wide population. So I think a good example of that is in the past when certain careers have maybe one gender or one ethnicity is maybe more focused in that industry than others. We want to bring in students from all different backgrounds to create a more diverse experience for our students in those schools and pathways. So we will have to limit to some degree. So the second question was, what if more want in a school than there is room for? I've always been really proud of our efforts at Oak Park High School to make sure that we're putting students first. So we'll do everything we can in our ability to get students in their first choice. But really, when we talk about where students belong, we're going to start with their passion. So I think there are a lot of students that would say, I'm going to health sciences because I want to do this or that. But when you really dig deep and think about what it is they're passionate about and what they care about, they start to fall into some of those other schools as well. So great question. While we do have some limits on our numbers, we're going to work with every student to make sure we're giving them an opportunity to work toward whatever post-secondary goal it is that they have. So excellent question. And that's one of the harder parts of this, but it's something that we're really focused on. Next question, excellent one. Will there be electives tailored toward the pathway my child has chosen? So if you saw, there's that technical core class they'll take next year. But Dr. Stanley, do you want to hop in and talk a little bit about some of the new courses we're offering and kind of what we're trying to do to make sure students have opportunities to take classes that they think would be helpful?
So we have what we call suggested electives. So within each pathway, like I said, they'll take their 4 core classes and then they'll have that tech core that is selected for them that first year based on their school. But we will have all of the suggested electives within each school of as well. And that will be available to your students so that they can see, you know, what classes are available. Like we may have business law if they're looking at becoming a lawyer, that would be an elective they could take. A lot of the art classes if you're going into creative design. So we will suggest and kind of guide them through the process, but of course it's their choice. But they're definitely, all the electives that have been there will remain.
All right, excellent question still coming in. Who helps our students with the research about careers they're interested in? Which class does this happen in? That's from Rachel. Rachel, the awesome answer for that is where in the past we might have said, oh, it's their counselor, maybe one teacher. Now it's really everyone within the school they choose. So a big part of this model is making sure our adults become experts in that school. So if our teachers and our counselors and our administrators are associated with the School of Business or the School of Design, Innovation, and Technology, it's a huge part of their job to make sure they understand and know the current research. What does the market look like in those fields? How can we get students connected to professionals or internships, or which colleges should they be applying to, or other post-secondary opportunities they should be looking at? So it's really trying to narrow our focus as adults, because right now a student could walk into my office and they could be looking at any career in the world. Whereas in the future, if a student, I'm with the School of Community and Human Services, I would be talking to them about that. But if they're in the School of Business, I might redirect them to Molly Smith, who's our assistant principal that works with that specific school. So really trying to become experts so students have more people they can go to rather than just one point person or somebody trying to help them work through it that doesn't know much more than they do. So that's something we're super excited about. Alex talked about virtual students and how do virtual students do this. They would also, I don't know if you're speaking specifically to selecting their school or once they're in it, but either way, the virtual students are going to have the same opportunities that our live students will have. So through the enrollment process, counselors will be meeting with them through Teams calls or phone calls or whatever is easiest for the family. And then once school starts, if we do have virtual students in the fall or if it looks like that, we'll just still engage them the way we do through Canvas and some synchronous opportunities to make sure students have everything they need. So I hope I answered that question. Dr. Stanley, anything you would add to that?
No, I think you answered it well.
Great question too. This question came up on Monday. College level classes available in the pathway my child chooses. Absolutely. So when I first became principal at Oak Park High School, we really worked hard to increase the opportunities we had for students to take college level courses. And in fact, every junior at Oak Park High School takes college level government. So I think one of the, not misconceptions, but just one of the questions that comes up is, now that we're so focused on careers, are we still talking about college and going to college and post-secondary opportunities? Absolutely. I think by going to these 4 schools, we'll actually see an increase in the amount of our students that go to college because they know what they want to do after high school. And while there are a ton of career fields that don't require a 4-year degree, a lot of students realize how that could benefit them as well. So we will still offer all of our current college level courses. The only thing that would make that look a little different is it might not be as specific to a school. So if they take AP Chemistry or AP Lang as one of their ELA courses, it might not have as much of a business focus as some of our other classes, but they'll still get that in other courses and then still be able to take some of their college prep courses. So we absolutely want a huge chunk of our students to go on to those post-secondary opportunities, but we also realize that's not for every student. And we don't want to put students who are interested in careers that don't require college to not be ready to enter the workforce after high school. So we want to serve all of our students. So great question. I'm going to read this one as I am going through it. I haven't got ahead yet. So this question, what options are available for students looking for a more liberal arts approach? So says my daughter is more interested in the School of Public Service, but we feel it's important for every citizen to have a basic understanding of engineering and literature. Would all of her exposure to engineering be somehow through a public service lens? So great question. It doesn't have to be that way. Students can still choose electives. So, and I think that's a great, perspective that you have, the person that brought up that question, because there is a huge benefit to someone who wants to be an engineer, taking a lot of courses in communication and working on their communication skills, or somebody who wants to be, who wants to be a lawyer, also maybe studying some health sciences courses, and maybe that's a niche they find later on down the road. So we do not want to limit in any way. This is not narrowing the focus for students to the degree that they can't have that broad lens. What it is it's providing a context. So for example, next year, every freshman will be working toward the same ELA standards, just whichever school they're in, that's the context that we'll use to teach those standards. So if they're in the School of Business, the articles they're reading would be different than a student who's in the School of Design, Innovation, and Technology, but they're still working on the same standards. They can still take elective courses. There's still a ton of student choice. And that's one of the benefits of this new model is a lot of design thinking, a lot of project-based learning, a lot of student choice, and a lot of student voice. So hopefully that puts your mind at ease, because I personally went through a 4-year school that had a liberal arts focus, and it was life-changing for me. So we want students to be able to have that broad perspective as well. So hopefully that helps you feel good about that. Next question, are all high schools in the district participating in this? Absolutely. It is all 4 high schools. So we'll have those shared resources so our teachers will be able to collaborate, or if we do have a lot of students that transfer between the 4 schools in our district, they're going to have similar experiences. So it's a goal of our district to to provide and promote equity throughout the district. And a big part of that are equitable learning experiences, regardless of whichever of the 4 high schools they're at. Next question, concern about putting a 13 or 14-year-old in a career path. Student has multiple passions. Does this limit focusing on just one passion? I don't think so at all. Students could have a client-based project going on in several different courses with several different professionals at one time. They can take a variety of electives. As I mentioned before, there's a lot of student choice involved. So while I completely agree, and my interest changed, and Dr. Stanley and a lot of us could probably say we wanted to do multiple things over the course of our 4 years in high school, this just provides a context, because I think a lot of our classes are taken in isolation. We go to science and study what our teachers want to study in there. Then we go to math and study what our teachers want us to study in there. This provides a more connected, integrated approach to where our students can really start to tackle some real world problems in a more authentic context. So we want to make sure that your student is able to discover new passions and also pursue the passions that they already have. So
and if you have a student that's interested, say, in health and wellness, and they're deciding, well, maybe I want to go into business, health and wellness is broad enough. Hospitals have a whole business side, they have a marketing side, they have foundations, so really within their pathway, if they start to really find an interest that maybe it's within a hospital and you're in health and wellness, that's something we can work with. And that's, the joy of us having so many off-campus programs as well. They can have any experience that they want. So again, like Dr. Sarton said, it's just looking through that lens and kind of keeping a common theme through their core classes.
Yes, thanks, Dr. Stanley. And that moves right into our next question. Another excellent question. Will the Northland Career Center program still be available? The answer is yes, absolutely. We are not currently, to my knowledge, eliminating any of our off-campus programs. Dr. Stanley came from NCAPS, which was we were super excited to be able to steal her away from a program that's a huge part of what they do, are extensive internships. We still have our early college, all of our off-campus programming. So those opportunities are all still there. So students could choose to do that, or if they want to remain in the high school throughout the day, it still provides them with opportunities to do some of the things that used to only be offered at our off-campus programs. So great question too. Thoughts about how transferable these courses would be to another out-of-district high school. So that's a really good question. All of our core classes are still going to follow the Missouri Learning Standards, so that would not be a problem at all. Our technical core class freshman year is a general elective, so it would also be transferable to any school at another district. And then we still have a lot of the same electives. So we also were really careful to make sure that our courses were aligned to the NCAA clearinghouse. So students that want to pursue activities after high school are still eligible like they always would be. So these courses are universal in terms of how they're written and how they're recognized by other school districts and universities. Anything you'd want to add to that, Dr. Stanley?
No, just that we were very intentional on that piece because of people transferring from districts and, like he said, 2-year, 4-year institutions following school.
Another really good question. Are internships paid? Not the ones that we would facilitate through the school district, but it could lead to a paid internship down the road. So maybe opportunities in the summer or after school hours or after high school. Anything you'd add to that, Dr. Stanley?
This is such a good way to get their foot in the door and receive credit from us and potentially dual credit as well. They're only on our clock until the end of the school day. So, if they're doing a great job and their mentor wants to keep them on, absolutely, they can do paid internship, or paid work in that case, no problem whatsoever. So they can, they can turn this into whatever they want to, really. It's a great opportunity for them.
I would say that that's such an amazing opportunity. I mean, just something that I was never afforded growing up. The only adults I saw during the school day were my teachers. So now all of our students are going to get to be with adults and connect with adults and network with professionals and careers that are of interest to them. So really exciting opportunity. Dr. Stanley, we had a request to show the graphic of the 4 different schools and the pathways below them. Would you mind going back to that? And then we'll come back to our contact information before we sign off. somebody asked, is NCC, and I should have said Northland Career Center. I apologize that I used acronyms with that. So it is a trade technical school. So it could lead to some post-secondary hours. It can lead to a certificated or a certificate afterwards, which we would consider a market value asset. So we have Northland Career Center. We have CTech, which is an automotive program. We have a construction and career academy. We have an early college opportunity for students that want to try to earn their associate's degree that are planning to go to a four-year school. NCAPS is an internship focused opportunity, half-day opportunity. I'm sure I'm forgetting some, Dr. Stanley, but we have a wealth of off-campus programs in addition to what we're going to do with schools and pathways. Next question, will students still receive an enrollment book like they've gotten in the past? I think it's virtual, it's digital.
It's
now,
virtual.
correct?
The CPEG will be virtual this year, and it'll be, once they choose their school, then that'll be even more specific as to here's the classes and that. But when we go and enroll them, their form that they're going to fill out with Mrs. Smith and me and the counselors, they will, once they choose their school, they have their tech core, their 4 classes, and then they'll have the opportunity to do any of the electives.
Awesome. Wow, we had so many amazing questions. So hopefully the person that requested seeing the 4 schools will have the opportunity to screenshot. I am also going to drop in the FAQ one last time. So, and feel free, we're going to, I think, send some information out, Dr. Stanley. It'll come out through Antioch. So you'll see graphics and different handouts as well. So I see another question. Awesome. Honors classes still be available? Absolutely. Yes, we still have our SAGE counselor, who's at the high school level. We refer to Dr. Dameron as our gifted resource specialist. That still connects with all of our gifted students that have been a part of SAGE in the past. So yes, honors courses, AP courses, dual credit courses, will also Project Lead the Way, which is another opportunity for students to earn college credit that's embedded within several of our schools and pathways that we're talking about tonight. So, so absolutely so. And we're getting some thank yous, which is very nice of you all. Thank you so much for being here. We were happy to share this time with you. And again, sorry we had to do it virtually, and sorry I'm sitting in a parking lot in Independence before I go into wrestling, but definitely a huge shout out again to Dr. Stanley. She's been working day and night ever since she joined the Oak Park family several months ago to kick this off. So class of 2025 students, I think, are going to have some amazing opportunities that no students before them have had. And they're going to be our first class to go through it, and will always be something that they'll be able to carry in their back pocket. So it looks like the questions have slowed down, but Dr. Stanley has shared our information. Feel free to call us at Oak Park High School. That's our main line, and just say, hey, I need to talk to Sarton or Stanley, and we will help you out with any questions. I know Antioch is there to help too, or they can help you get in touch with us if you need anything specific for your students. So anything else, Dr. Stanley?
Nope, I appreciate your time this evening. And Dr. Schneblin will be sending out the YouTube link of this video chat that we just did. So if you want to pass that on to people who maybe weren't able to jump on, or if you wanted to watch it again for reference so that you can look at any of the slides that you need to.
Yeah, and I can tell by the questions and the participation tonight that we've got an awesome group of families. I'm hearing great things about the 8th graders. So we're so excited that while it was virtually, we got to meet a little earlier than we normally would. It'd normally be February before we got to all get together. So thanks for joining us tonight. Again, just let us know if you need anything, and welcome to the Oak Park family. Have a great night.
Thank you. Bye-bye.